Hello again. So what's better than one Lionel turbine but two? Because you get the one, and then the one needs a friend, and then they start breeding while you're at work, and before you know it, you end up with 5 or 6 of them. Just kidding, of course. I was actually looking on eBay for a particular locomotive payday, and I wasn't willing to pay the buy now price on any of them. And sometimes after a hard week, you kind of need some instant satisfaction or instant gratification. So I was strolling along, and I found this 671RR. The seller claims it runs and smokes, which I guess I have to believe it. That's a lot of residue. But it came with the wrong tender. This is a 1130T, which is fine for now. I'll get a 2046-50 later. It's not that big of a deal. You can borrow one later. So this video should end up being pretty much the same as the 2020, but we can compare some differences between the 1948 and the 1952. My understanding is the 671RR is basically a 681 without the magnet traction. Has the same drivers and stuff, not the nickel plated rimmed ones that the other one has. So I did end up bidding on and winning the one I really wanted, so that'll be the subject of the next video. So for now, let's start taking this thing apart. Give it its nice little service here. This one also has a broken ladder, but I've already got a couple spares, so we're good there. And this one is actually really clean, so this should be a simple service job, I'd imagine. Since I gotta replace the ladder, I will remove the rear truck, which seems to have been apart at some point. Maybe this thing has actually been serviced. Because it is really nice. Of course, trailing arm's bent because they're all bent for some reason. And now that I know that I don't have to, I'll just leave the front truck in place unless it gets in the way. This one is fighting a little bit. So put those aside. Now we'll get the front one. Let's probably move. This one's loose. This thing's definitely been apart before. All the screws have the heads are deformed a little bit. And just like the last one, frames just pop right out. And it is missing the weight. Do they even ever have a weight? I don't see any paint, and looks like the little cam thing there has a screw and a different washer. This I think this thing was robbed for parts at some point. Huh. But it was done a long time ago. Where's my scribe at? I don't think this ever had a weight in it. Those screws aren't, they don't have any threads. So this never had a weight. All right. I don't know if that's a repair or it was born like that. The screw looks like it might be original, but the washer looks a bit oversized. But what do I know? You know what? I like this live there. Seems to be working well. That's really tight. I may want to replace this wire right here because it's charred. I will do that off camera when I do the other stuff, but that's burnt. So yeah, I'll definitely replace that wire with one that isn't so burnt. So let's pop this off. There we go. Looks like the grease was a little bit better applied on this one, but and it's still malleable, so this might have been serviced. So I'll better look at the wire there. Alright, so I'm going to cut the camera. So I know I have to desolder this wire right here. And I will be back in a moment. So I obviously forgot to test this thing again. So we'll do that now before I unsolder that wire. Shouldn't affect how it's going to run. I feel like I was lied to. Well, all right. I will probably have to clean the E unit up on this too, or do some other whatchamacallits. So let me get this unsoldered, and I will continue on with the video. So while I'm waiting for the soldering gun to heat up, you can see that this thing's obviously been shorting at some point. And I already pointed out the wire. You can see where it's been melting on the what is that? Bakelite insulation pad or whatever that is. So I will definitely be pulling the pickups off. And hope. All right. For a second there, I thought that one was missing its washer, but I think it has it. That would explain some things. So, yep, I will be, this will be another repair video, trying to figure this out. So at this point in time, I'm pretty convinced I'm going to be replacing all the wires on this particular locomotive. I'm hoping that the smoke the seller was talking about was actually the smoke and not, you know, the smoke. But we will keep on keeping on. Go ahead and take the motor out, which is screw was loose. That's great. Well, one of them was tight. Same as the 2020. Well, can't say this one wasn't greased. Definitely seen some grease. All right, let's go ahead and take the cover off, or the there she goes. A little bit light prying. A little bit more light prying. My goodness. Oh, wow. Oh. Don't want to break this thing. There we go. Ooh. Huh. I've seen worse. One of the brushes is stuck though. That might be why it wasn't running. I think no, I thought it was bent, but I think it's just filthy. All right, cool. So, set this aside for a moment. Since I'm going to be replacing the wires, I will go ahead and remove the E unit out of this one. What a mess. Come here before I accidentally lose you. There. Well, I mean, that's doing things, but it ain't making the right contacts. Alright, that just the tape. Alright, cool. So, yes, I will probably be removing this wire, or I'm going to do as many as I can. So, that's awesome. This will be coming apart. Yay. And I might as well take this off right now. Don't want to lose this because I'm sure I think there's a washer underneath it. Yep. Put you there. So this has an insulation washer under it, but the other one does not? Or did it fall out? Oh, I see. This has a larger hole. All right, cool. So, that's neat. I think my 726 had an actual wire running to it. So this should... I'm gonna go ahead and destroy some very expensive scissors and just snip this wire. All right. So at least I can clean that up. And I mean, since I'm already this far in, let's just go ahead and remove the smoke unit. Got a nice little pile of parts here now. And so that don't work its way out, we'll just remove it too, whatever. And this is cross-threaded, so it's not the original screw. It's going to be a wood screw, of course. There these are. Yep, sir. Well, I got a little farther in this than I planned to. Awesome. So I'm going to start like cleaning out the grease. Well, I'll do that next. Let's make a bigger mess for ourselves. Let's go ahead. This way, all I gotta do is I can just start sitting here and start cleaning stuff up off camera. So I'm hoping and assuming, mostly hoping, that this has the same, this doesn't have the same, it has the other style thrust washer with the, it's a, or bearings, it's a washer with 5 individual there, stuck on my finger, bearings. Come on. I think it is, yes. Yep. Awesome. So let me get that out. Well, come on. There we go. So this is the thrush washer I probably should have replaced the other one with on my 2020. Much better design, I think. Try to keep these in order. Of course, one on the other side. And we need to get the other ones out without losing them. Well, be that way. All right. So that's in. All right. Very dirty. We'll do this normal cleanup on the commutator real quick. I'm going to start cleaning grease. The surface of this is a little rough. Kind of very rough. Very little. Well, that's probably about as good as it can get. It's going to get. You can see some wear marks in there. But shouldn't stop it from doing things. Just going to be hard on the brushes, I believe. Alright, I am going to start cleaning. Alright, so at this point, this thing's probably about as clean as it's going to get. It's about as much effort as I'm willing to put into it right now. The front truck, apparently the screw was loose and that almost fell out. I restaked the, removed and restaked the new rear ladder. And I got the motor cleaned up. Mostly. I forgot to wipe the shaft down. Alright. So I'm going to go ahead and reassemble the motor on camera. That was the same thing as the 2020 video and the other videos. It just cotton swabs, alcohol, or rubbing alcohol, fiberglass pencil, standard affair. Cleaned the motor out as good as I was going to get it. So we'll go ahead and start reassembling this here thing. I'm going to add a little bit of oil to the shaft, to the motor shaft. Wipe it on just to give it a little help. Probably ain't gonna need that for a while. Then with the this motor's gonna be the one's little washers. that in there. I'll take a little bit of the, where did I put it? The grease. Put a little bit of that in there. Brush washer. Some more grease. Nice and packed. And one of those washers should need more grease, I don't think. I'll dab a little bit of oil on it though. Just a kiss. And this should drop in there. This side, wait a minute, I'm going the wrong, yeah, this one right. Trying to keep it in order. Washer, grease, thrust washer or thrust bearings. Pack some grease in there. Probably a little too much, but washer and E-clip. Make sure that's seated. Yeah, it's not going anywhere. Don't know why I'm wiping off the access. I mean, I'm just going to shove it in grease anyway, but at least I can visually make sure everything's where it needs to be. And that was so much easier, sorry, than the other one. I'm going to go ahead and mount this one in. Well, I guess we don't have to do that. I have went ahead and cleaned this up. Standard deal. Wiped it off with that rubbing alcohol, Q-tip or cotton swab down the holes there. The springs on this seem to go off to the side, so you can pull the brushes out without messing with it too much. Should probably wipe my hand down a little bit more. Yeah, I'm gonna wipe my hand off a little bit more. The pants weren't quite getting them clean. Put the screws in there. Since I got to rewire it, I obviously just cut the wires. This isn't sitting quite flush. I will tighten each one up a little bit at a time. There. No binds, everything's happy. Brushes, I wiped them off with rubbing alcohol and then went after them with the fiberglass pencil. They cleaned up pretty nice. Are these even the right brushes for these? They fit kind of loose. There. That one might be. They seem kind of bent too. Maybe that's why it was binding up. All right, that should be ready. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to actually take apart the E unit and clean it and rewire it. I'm going to do that off camera because I've only done it like 3 times now and it's fiddly and I don't want to break it because I don't want to spend any more money on this except for replacing the tender or any other parts I already have on hand. So I should just be able to pry it apart. And well, the jig is a pain in the butt. It's not undoable, but it's time consuming. And then I'm going to wire another piece of wire on this and put a piece of heat shrink on here. Shrink tube, and I'll be back to you when I'm done with all that. And just like that, I now have a completely rewired E unit. I also soldered a new wire on the pickup, ran a piece of heat shrink all the way up to here, and slid the original one on just because. So now I can attempt to put this thing back together. I'm going to start with the pickup here. I'm going to have to slide this thing on after I get everything else put on because it's too thick. Here. There. All right, onto the bottom here. So, let's see. Roller. I'm gonna go ahead and do this off camera real quick. Sorry, getting those started was a lot more fiddly than doing the E unit was. I thought the other one, the spacer down here insulator was a part of the frame, and when I started putting this thing together, that popped off, and Luckily I didn't lose it, and I was managed to get this all back together. Even broke out the multimeter to make sure this was insulated. So that should all be good to go. And let's see. So right here should be for the unit. OCD, what's this stuff to be? Here. I noticed there was some grease in here, so I'll go ahead and get that out. And now the motor. I'll go ahead and put some grease on that gear real quick. Can't see, need more light. Come on, little feller. There. A second. Damn it. All right, that should be good to go. Yeah, while this is out, we'll put grease on our fingers and maybe not do that as well as I thought. Wait, isn't that little screwdriver magnetized? Where'd I put it? I just had it. Probably that thing that fell on the ground a second ago. Yep, I lost the tool I just had. So I'm going to stop the video and find that real quick. I'm an idiot. I put it over there with on the bed. Darn it. Sweet. And where did I put the smoke unit? It's right in front of me. I'm gonna put a little oil on this. Sweet. I'm not going to replace these wires because they look fine. So for this point, I am going to go in the basement and resolder all this. I will probably do the test run at that point. And let's go ahead and... Whoa, I lost the screw. Let's go ahead and straighten the rear truck out and reattach it. I'm going to take this off camera to start the screw. Alright. And unlike the last one, this doesn't seem to catch the ladders. So I'm going to go solder this thing back up. Alright, it's all soldered back together, I think. As usual, that took way longer than it probably should have. However, it should be back together. Very nice. Alright, I'm going to go put the shell on and we're going to run this thing around for a bit. So there we go, all back together. I'm going to use my 2046 tender for the testing because it's already on the track and it's more or less the right tender anyway. Doesn't have the Pennsylvania shell, but you know, whatever. Another one that took way more time and effort than it needed to.